Hey there everybody, it's Bill Straub from Modern Thirst. I've got two samples to taste today, and I'm kind of interested in both of these for very different reasons. The first one is from Diageo. It's a Crown Royal Noble Collection. It's basically just Crown Royal that's been finished in French oak casks. So probably kind of similar to Maker's 46, but in a Canadian whiskey sort of version. It's only 40% ABV, so 80 proof, typical of Crown Royal and Canadian stuff. I'm not expecting it to be really, really complex, but I'm very interested to see them play around a little bit with some barrel finishes. So that's the first one we're going to taste. This was provided by Diageo, so we appreciate that. And the second one is the one I'm really excited about, and that's a 2019 version of King of Kentucky from Old Forester. If you read our site, the 2018 version just blew me away. I absolutely loved it. I think we scored it a 95 on the site. It was one of the best whiskeys of the year, in my opinion. I think I said it tasted like Old Forester 1870 and George T. Stagg got together one night, had a love child. It was fruity, just like that Old Forester 1870, but it had that big, bold heat up front, which I really love from George T. Stagg. So this year it is 15 years old, and it is 131.3 proof, at least this one is. So this is barrel number 8. 131-ish proof on this one in particular, and it's non-chill filtered. So it's basically a really old barrel-proof version of Old Forester, so it's their standard mash bill. I loved it last year, and we're going to taste that one second. I've got a little water here in case I need it, but let's go ahead and get started. So this is a Crown Royal. Very fruity, very light. Not getting a whole lot else on that. A little bit of some kind of baking spices, but by and large, I'm just getting a lot of kind of sweet fruit on that. It's very typical of Crown Royal. It's a very easy sipping, kind of light, some would even say a little bit flavorless whiskey. Maybe just a hint of pepper, but all in all, really light. Not a ton going on the nose there. It's interesting. Again, it's very light on the palate, but it actually has more flavor on the finish than it does on the actual palate when you taste it. That kind of sweet fruit is there from the rye whiskey. There's a little hint of kind of a warmth and spice on it, which I assume is that French oak finish. But all in all, I'm getting a little bit of kind of a light sweet citrus, almost like lemon drops, gumballs, things like that. Maybe a little bit of orange zest in there. Not really getting a whole lot of oak, just a little bit of spiciness, which I think is probably that French oak. I'd be interested to know more. I didn't get a lot of literature with this, so I don't know how long it was finished. And of course, we don't know how old Crown Royal is. So I think my first impressions were that it's okay. I don't think it's a huge improvement over Crown Royal, which in itself is kind of bland. Yeah, I do like the mouthfeel on this. It's actually a little bit creamier than Crown Royal tends to be. It's very easy to drink. If you're not really a whiskey drinker, this is a really approachable whiskey to kind of train yourself to start drinking neat. Honestly, I would rather, instead of playing around with all these different formats, I'd rather see Crown Royal play around with proof a little bit more. There's no reason they can't come out with a barrel proof rye whiskey or Canadian whiskey that's not half bad. I'd rather see them maybe double barrel these in a new charred oak, a little higher proof, something along those lines. This is fine. It's you know, B minus, C plus probably at best. You know, 75 to 80 points if we were doing our Modern Thirst score. I can't give it a score because I like to taste things 2 to 3 days before I give it a full score. But all in all, it's at best just a whiskey. There's nothing offensive about it, so it keeps it from being a total failure. But it's bland. It doesn't have the depth of flavors that you get in straight rye whiskey or most American straight whiskeys, because they're not necessarily new oak casks. It's at 80 proof. It's kind of like a Basil Hayden with less flavor, if that makes sense. That's kind of your typical Canadian ryes. They're like a rye whiskey with no punch, no real oomph behind them. For the most part, there's a few of them that are pretty nice. So you know, it is what it is. If you like Crown Royal, you'll probably like that. It's only a slight twist on the original. Really excited to try this King of Kentucky. Again, I absolutely loved 2018. So I was very excited when this showed up at my door. You know, Old Forester is kind of Louisville's bourbon, in my opinion. It's what, anytime you go to a party or a wedding in Louisville where there's a bar, Old Forester 86 is almost always the house bourbon, so to speak. It's inexpensive, it tastes pretty good. It's made right here in Louisville. It's still family owned for the most part. And a lot of those folks are still here in Louisville, so it's kind of Louisville's brand, Old Forester, and we're very proud of it and very happy to have them here. And this is really, I think I said last year, this is the format of Old Forester we've been waiting on for a long time. We've been waiting on that extra aged, which you really only got in the birthday bourbon, and then we've really been waiting on that high proof. So let's see what we got on 2019 King of Kentucky. Well, right away, it smells a lot different than the 2018 version. In 2018, I thought that bright red fruits just kind of leapt out of the glass on the nose, and on this one, I'm getting more baked goods, some caramel, almost a wedding cake. Just a hint of some pepper and some seasoning in there, but I'm not really getting a ton of the red fruits from 2018. But all in all, it's a very nice nose. It's a very powerful nose, which you would expect from something that old and this high proof. Appearance-wise, it's very dark. I don't know if you can see from here. Compared to the Crown Royal, it's like comparing Scotch to a bourbon. It's crazy. Oh, it brings the heat. Yeah, I don't get the red fruits that I got in 2018, which I really loved. It's a long finish, which I really enjoy. This is a spicy version, where last year's was very sweet, but high alcohol content. This is spicy with high alcohol content. And on the palate, definitely taste the age. You get the oak in there. It's not overpowering. It's not over oaked. So they've done a good job with the barrel selections. Get a good amount of that. I get a lot of graham cracker and kind of pie crust with Old Forester. You get a lot of that here. And on the finish, you get a little bit of that rye bread, kind of doughy, sweet baked goods. One thing I do like to do, and I've had some requests from this before when we do these high proof ones, I do want to try it with a splash of water and see what else it brings out. When you get this really high proof stuff, it can really bring out some different flavors. Sometimes they get a little bit masked, especially on the aromas, by the alcohol content. Despite the proof on this isn't really alcohol forward. It is a high proof, so you're going to have to prepare your palate for that. But by and large, this isn't something that's going to singe your nose hairs when you smell it. So I'm just going to do a little splash of water. And we use room temperature. You either need purified water or distilled water, or in our case, living in Louisville, our tap water is really high quality. It doesn't have a lot of those irons and metals that make whiskey taste horrible, so you can use tap water as well, but please use room temperature. Otherwise, you're going to mask some flavors if it's really cold. Woo! You know, it's kind of interesting here. I get a little bit of like a molasses note that I didn't get before, almost a sorghum and molasses. It really did change the aroma profile on that. I'm going to add just another little splash. Yeah, and it really brings out that the graham cracker. Not the honey graham cracker, just that standard brown sugar graham cracker. Pretty strong on the nose on that. Wow, it really makes the brown sugar notes pop, right? Brown sugar, a little bit of maple in there. It kind of sweetens the bourbon up a little bit, adding just a splash of water. I can't tell you what the two little splashes I gave would have brought this proof down to, but yeah, I actually, you know, generally I would drink these at barrel proof, and even if I bought a bottle, that's probably how I drink it. But adding just a tiny splash of water to this is really nice. It really does change the flavor profile quite a bit. So yeah, if the proof scares you off, just know that it's going to be fine if you throw a little water in it just to take a little bit of that heat off. It makes it kind of can dissipate some of those ethanol notes on both on the palate and on the nose, which allows you to kind of dig into those flavors a little bit more. So that's definitely something that you shouldn't worry about checking out with this whiskey. Adding water to it, it's a good plus. Really nice. And as it dissipates, you get a little bit of that tingle from the barrel tannins. You get a lot of black pepper. But overall, this is more of a traditional Old Forester mash bill release at a very high proof and a lot of age, whereas last year's was kind of like 1870, which I think really leans towards the very sweet. This is very good. I don't think it's quite as complex and quite as interesting as last year's. If last year's was a 95, this is probably closer to an 89 or 90. I really like it. I'm going to grab a bottle if I can find one on the shelves. I know these things run for a little over $200, maybe $225, something like that. They are, I don't think it says on the press release that I have here, but no, it does not. Just for some further knowledge, this was lot number 04E14. It's from Warehouse 0, Floor 1, Rick 104. And the tasting notes from the company, oh, there it is, $249.99. That's pretty pricey, but for a 15-year-old barrel-proof bourbon, there's only 2,000 bottles of this produced. That's probably, unfortunately, in line with the market. Yeah, so this is selected from 2 different production dates. I would love for this to be less expensive, but I mean, we can all cry at the heavens all we like on that. Bourbon pricing is bourbon pricing, and they're going to price it however they feel is appropriate. So I can't really complain about the price other than to say I'm still going to try to buy a bottle of it. I just won't buy 2. So if you get a chance to try it, please let us know in the comments what you think. Like and subscribe while you're at it. And if there's something you would like to see us review or a different type of format, please let us know in the comments as well. Check us out at ModernThirst.com. We've got over 300 different whiskeys reviewed. We're adding new reviews and new whiskeys every week. And if you have $1 a month or so to spare, please check us out at patreon.com/ModernThirst. We really appreciate any support we can get. But thanks a lot for watching. Cheers and have a great day.